Let's start recording. Fine. Oh, it's shut down again. Here we go. I need to shut that a little bit. Does that look all right for people to read?
A bit
No,
small.
Oh,
let me see. I might bring it down here. It was all looking beautiful, and then when I try and share it, it goes yucky. Sorry.
no worries.
Is that better?
That's better.
Good. We are up to number 3. Who wants to read number 3?
I can start it out if we want.
Good.
The first step in the reversal of undoing or undoing process is the undoing of the getting concept. Accordingly, the Holy Spirit's first lesson was to have, give all to all. I said that this is apt to increase conflict temporarily, and we can clarify this still further now. At this point, the equality of having and being is not yet perceived. Until it is, having appears to be the opposite of giving. Therefore, the first lesson seems to contain a contradiction, since it is being learned by a conflicted mind. This means conflicting motivation, and so the lesson cannot be learned consistently as yet. Further, the mind of the learner projects its own conflict and thus does not perceive consistency in the minds of others, making him suspicious of their motivation. This is a real reason why, in many respects, the first lesson is the hardest to learn. Still strongly aware of the ego in yourself and responding primarily to the ego in others, you are being taught to react to both as if what you do believe is not true. That was a little convoluted for me, and I was the one reading it. Shall we take it line by line? Do you guys feel like that's worth the investigation?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a big one.
So the first step in the reversal, let's define what the reversal is. So I know it's in some of the paragraphs that preceded this. Does anyone remember what the reversal is?
No. Should we go back a little bit?
Yeah, I think we should, because I don't think the paragraph's going to make sense unless we do that. But it may be way back there. It's just a reversal from the separated mind to the mind of oneness. Maybe that's the reversal. That would make sense to me if it was.
Yeah.
Do we
Yeah,
all
I guess
agree
it's
that that's
reversal.
probably what the reversal is?
What's that?
Do we all agree that that's what we think the reversal is?
Yeah, because it goes on to follow the undoing, so reversal or undoing process. So it's that.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so let's say we understand that now. Or the undoing process is the undoing of the getting concept. So I guess it's about what we obtain by doing whatever behavior we do. Accordingly, the Holy Spirit's first lesson was to have, give all to all. We remember that one. I said that this is apt to increase conflict temporarily, and we can clarify this still further now. At this point, getting to have to give all to all, at this point, the equality of having and being is not yet perceived. So the equality of having and being. So that must mean that they're equal is not yet perceived. Until it is, having appears to be the opposite of giving. Therefore, the lesson seems to contain a contradiction, since it's being learned by a conflicted mind. Okay, understand that better now. This means conflicting motivation, and so the lesson cannot be learned consistently as yet. Further, the mind of the learner projects its own conflicts and thus does not perceive consistency in the mind of others, making him suspicious of their motivation. Probably the suspicion is about someone giving you something, and you would be suspicious of the motivation of why they're giving you something. This is a real reason why, in many respects, the first lesson is the hardest to learn. Still strongly aware of the ego in yourself and responding primarily to the ego in others, you're being taught to react to both as if what you do believe is not true. Okay, I kind of get that now. Does anyone else want to add something to that?
To me,
Are you-
it says about we have a win-lose mentality. When perhaps we know that you can have win-win, but initially we're going to think, if I give away something, I haven't got it anymore.
That's right. And then we have suspicion of whoever gives to us because we doubt their motives.
Yeah, I feel like we've become very good at not accepting compliments, not accepting generosity because we think there's something, there's some game being played.
Yeah, or an alternative motive.
I actually have to disagree with that, only from my own perspective, simply because people, I have found just in the last year and a half that people are very generous and they don't want anything back. And I guess that's how we work, in the respect that we don't do things for people just so that we can get back. We do things for people because we want to, because that's our nature.
That's
So
what our nature should be. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And the population's nature should be.
Yes.
So I agree with you to the extent of there's a lot of the population that don't do that. But I don't know, maybe it's just the path that I've gone down now, is that I'm actually finding that while I've helped people before and I don't expect anything back, I actually have been getting it back through their generosity. Not so much through things, but through generosity. And that's just opened my eyes up to a whole new world. And it's surprising and it's fabulous.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
I agree. And I think that the Course in Miracles wants us to know that when we are in a state of being of service, it's in the giving that we get. Life is for giving and forgiving. We have to forgive others and give to others, and sometimes it's at the same time, and that's how. When we're in service, we're not asking, well, when am I going to get? When am I? We're simply saying, oh no, it already exists. I'm in it. I'm in the place I need to be. I'm certain of that. I'm very present. I don't need to look at yesterday, and I'm not concerned about tomorrow. And, that's why I love the Course in Miracles so much, because it just grounds me in that way, so that, and when I don't get up in the morning and say, what would you have me do? Well, then I'm all screwy Louie, So.
And I guess, just while you were saying all that, it really made me think, and I think I cut out when I was having my little verbal thing earlier on, but so my lesson last week was think, embrace, and speak love. So what you've said there has just encompassed all that. So what I was thinking was I hadn't actually done that so much for humans in the last week, which when I think about it after you saying that, I have, but I have definitely done it for the horses and the goats and the pig and the llama and what have you that I'm looking after at the moment. So it's kind of weird. And just adding to that, I think that's because they actually don't expect anything from you apart from food. And when you scratch them, like the pig, when I scratch his snout, I get this beautiful grunting sound. It just makes me feel so warm, even though it's the most awful sound I've ever heard in my life. But, you know, they're not actually wanting anything in return. I love it.
I know. Mm.
That's the beauty, Linda, that you're of the lifestyle you're leading right now. I think it is incredibly courageous. I think that you are learning lessons in a way that I'm not going to get exposed to for a long time, if ever. So I just wanted to tell you how beautiful I think these days are for you. I'm a little envious, to tell you the truth. I'd give anything to take care of a pig, a llama, a bunch of sheep. I'd even do the dags and 4 horses.
I have done my days of doing that 25, 30 years ago. I've done all of that stuff. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm happy just to feed them.
Pass the baton.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you, Gary. I
Awesome.
appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome, darling. Are we good with this one paragraph? And who wants to read next if we are?
Melissa's jumping up to read.
Nice.
Yeah,
Hey.
Melissa.
Welcome, Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
Hello.
There you go. You have the mic.
Upside down as always, the ego perceives the first lesson as insane. In fact, this is the only alternative since the other possibility, which would be much less acceptable to it, would obviously be that it is insane. The ego's judgment here, as always, is predetermined by what it is. The fundamental change will still occur with the change of mind in the thinker. Meanwhile, the increasing clarity of the Holy Spirit's voice makes it impossible for the learner not to listen. For a time then, he is receiving conflicting messages and accepting both.
What does it mean, though, that the ego perceives the first lesson as insane? Simply because it's the ego? Doesn't want to hear it?
Something along the lines of it wasn't in alignment with the Holy Spirit or something like that, if I remember from chapters back.
Right.
The first
Oh, yes. Mm.
is it referring to have all, give all to all? Is that the first lesson it's referring to?
It's been referred to as one of the lessons. So I would say that might be a good assumption.
I was thinking the
You know-
first lesson is the at-one-ment. And is
Well,
that
because what's the name of the chapter, V?
to have peace, teach peace, to learn it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the one that is, to have is to give all to all, but it could be anything, as we know. But that's what I'm going to stick with and see if I can follow it along that line.
Are these A, B, and C whatnot sub-chapters of 5, the lesson of the Holy Spirit, or the lessons of the Holy Spirit?
Yes.
Go back to 103.
Yes. You've got the book in front of you, so yes, you can have a look at that. Yeah.
Cheated a little,
And-
sorry.
And
No,
does,
nothing
and does
thinking about. using the text. We're
And
cheating.
does the first lesson actually mean the first lesson taught to us by the Holy Spirit, or is it the first lesson that we learn toward our enlightenment? Aha. Gotcha.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Yes to every interpretation.
I'm reading this as the ego just doesn't want to be wrong, and that's why anything it doesn't kind of agree with is insane, and also it's not very good at listening. So the better we get at listening to the Holy Spirit, the easier it is to accept the lessons.
You know, I'd just like to share that I remember the first time I heard about and listened to Marianne Williamson about the Course in Miracles. One of the precepts that came to me, probably because I needed to learn it the most, was whatever is missing from any relationship you have is what you yourself are not putting into it. Now, that made 25 years ago, that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, you know, because I thought, well, what? And I thought that was a little insane. And today, I think it is the precept of all precepts. I honor it. I revere it. and so that's what I think of, only because it was my first lesson. You know, my ego was certainly alive and well.
Yeah.
Do we need any more on that one, or should we move to number 5?
Move to number 5.
Okay, who wants to read number 5?
I'll read that one if that's okay.
Linda.
The way out of conflict between two opposing thought systems is, sorry, maybe this wasn't a good idea.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just trying to make it larger on my screen. Sorry, just give me a sec. Is to choose one and relinquish the other. If you identify with your thought system and you can not escape this, and if you accept two thought systems which are in complete disagreement, peace of mind is impossible. Sorry, I'm just trying to move it all here. If you teach both, which you will surely do as long as you accept both, you are teaching conflict and learning it. Yet you do want peace, or you would not have. I'm being challenged here, people. You do not have. You called upon the voice for peace to help you. The lesson is not insane. The conflict is. Sorry about that. If somebody else wants to read that again, I don't have any.
It's actually good, because when you read it slowly, you can digest it a bit better.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah.
I love that.
So
the
the
lesson is
opposing,
insane, the conflict is.
so the two opposing thought systems, are we talking the ego and our path to enlightenment?
That's how I take it, Linda. I think it's the ego and seeing through the eyes of the Holy Spirit. So seeing through separation or seeing through oneness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions about that paragraph? Or any comments for clarification?
I'm
That's
just
actually
thinking,
good.
so the lesson, whatever we want to learn, it's about choosing whether we want atonement at one-ment or we want separation. That's our choice. So we can break down any decision down to that.
Mm.
And we tend to juggle both, don't we? Depending on what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This brings up the topic of spiritual bypassing, which is something I'm writing about at the moment. And in the Yoga Sutras, there's a term pratipaksha bhavana, which is when you have a negative thought, immediately turn it to the equal opposite immediately. And so some people would look at that as spiritual bypassing, as sweeping the hard stuff under the carpet and repression and all of that kind of stuff. But really, you know, in everything there is duality. And if we're always sitting on the fence in duality, we're always going to be in conflict within our own mind. So it really does come down to a conscious choice, to just make a choice. Do you want joy? Do you want hell? You know, do you want heaven? Do you want hell? Or do you want to be in conflict and sit in the middle on the fence? So, you know, it seems to be that this is saying that, you know, the way out of conflict between two opposing thought systems is to just clearly choose one and relinquish the other, which is exactly the same thing, which some people would call spiritual bypassing. But, you know, is spiritual bypassing just a term that people are using as a cop-out to allow them to linger in hell for a bit longer, because maybe they're a bit attached to the hell. Maybe they're not ready, maybe they don't want to come out of the hell yet, and so they have to create these terms to make it okay for them to stay in hell for a bit longer. I don't know, this is my crazy thought process.
And it's funny how we have to label everything as well. You know,
Yeah.
I've never heard that
label
before.
The more that we label things, I think, is where the confusion sets in. Whereas we just let those labels go. We're going with what we are feeling at that time for that reason, with whatever's going on. We don't need to label it.
We label out of fear. We label because we want to make the separation very clear.
Mm.
You know, you're bad and I'm good, or, you know, whatever it might be. Yeah, let's keep that separation alive.
Teaching yourself to call everything an experience took me about 1.5 years to actually get it in my brain to stop saying, oh, that's a good thing or that's a bad thing. It's just, that's an experience.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally agreed, Joe. Nicely said.
Mm.
God, you guys clear things up for me in my mind. You really do.
It's
Pat yourselves on the back.
It's good to have you actually able to talk today, Linda, because normally you can only listen because you're busy working.
Yeah, it's sort of drizzling a bit out there, so I'm just not going to go out anymore. Anywho, so thank you. Thank you, Zee.
Who would like to read next?
I'll just get the page up a little bit more. Okay. Shall I read next? Nobody seems to be putting their hand up, so.
Go for it, Pete.
Number 6. There can be no conflict between sanity and insanity. Only one is true, and therefore only one is real. The ego tries to persuade you that it is up to you to decide which voice is true, but the Holy Spirit teaches you that truth was created by God, and your decision cannot change it. As you begin to realize the quiet power of the Holy Spirit's voice and its perfect consistency, it must dawn on your mind that you are trying to undo a decision that was irrevocably made for you. That is why I suggested before that you remind yourself to allow the Holy Spirit to decide for God for you.
I like that. It comes back to, again, just saying yes, doesn't it? It's just that whole yes thing.
Yeah.
Whatever decision, yes.
So we're talking about choice, and here it's saying there is no choice, but that's because if you listen to the Holy Spirit's voice, the path becomes clear.
And decisions, like, would decisions be much easier if we just considered them as, if I make this decision, is it going to hurt or affect me and or others? Whereas the other decision might do both. So choosing the decision that is not going to hurt anybody but create the experience, why don't we do that? We tend to complicate it, don't we?
Because we've separated the giving and the giving and the receiving. If we haven't separated the giving and receiving, then there is no giving something away. We're not giving anything away. We're actually sharing it and making it larger. Is that what it's saying with these lessons? To have peace. What is it? To have peace, teach peace, to learn it. So we're not giving peace away. We're learning how to be peace.
Well, it associates you into the state of peace to give it away. So that makes total sense to me.
I can say if you ask God to make you stronger, He sure throws stuff at you to build your strength. If you ask to become wiser, you sure get thrown conundrums that make you think, and so on and so forth. So I mean, it makes sense.
Right.
Yep.
If you ever pray to have God bring you the experiences to bring you closer to Him or her, and you really pray for that, buckle your seatbelt. Buckle your seatbelt. Excuse the language, but the shit flies when you do that, because everything intense that could ever happen to your ego will show up and just force you to get to the point to where your ego feels like it's going to break. I've only done that once. Now I'm very cautious when I pray, what I pray for, because if I ask for acceleration, my life's like a bit of a roller coaster. So
Turbo powered.
But don't you think that, I think the phrase, the Course in Miracles gives us nothing unreal exists, nothing real can be threatened, and herein lies the peace of God, is it? Or something like that? It's like it's our ego that thinks we're being thrown a curve or we're being challenged, and we are, but we're the ones that aren't getting out of our own way. Period. It's like the conflict doesn't exist. We put
No,
it there, we give it meaning, right? And it's like, you know, it's a tall order to, you know, to say, yes, nothing unreal exists, you know? Phew.
Mm. So the unreal being the fear of blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, the Course in Miracles is saying, you know, anything that's temporal, such as our bodies, a car, you know, our fear, it's not real.
That's right.
And the list goes on, you know, all these man-made things.
I think I
You know,
have
we're
the answer.
souls.
There's on number 8, there's a line that says, "Nothing is difficult that is wholly desired." So if you fully, without a split mind, wholly desire that acceleration, then nothing's difficult.
Mm.
But if you have
Right.
one foot in the world having desires of whatever the separated mind wants to have a desire of, and then the desire for God, that split is what makes it difficult.
Right.
So that makes it really, really clear to me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Who would
We
like
only
to
have
read
5
number
minutes
6?
left, so I think
Okay.
it just flies by, especially when we have our lessons that we go through first.
I know. I know. It's good.
Can I stop sharing so I can see all your lovely faces?
That would be great.
Sure.
Mm.
We're on number 7. Who'd like to go
Ah.
first? What's for the week?
I will. While I remember it, be at peace because you deserve it.
Nice. I'll go next. And I love this. I'm gonna work this one this week. Nothing is difficult that is wholly desired.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm going to go with that one too, Gary. And I'm going to add on to the end the lesson of to have peace, teach peace, to learn it, because what I wholly desire is peace. So I just put those two together.
Nice. I have it on my pink sticky now, so this means it'll be naturalized. Aping it on my computer.
There you go.
Who's next?
Mine is the path becomes clear because I listen to the Holy Spirit's voice.
Mm.
Nice.
I'm gonna say only love is real. Nothing else exists.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Joey? You got something? You got your lesson that you're going
Me?
to take away? Yeah.
Calling upon me? I don't know why I can't hear or see today. The fundamental change. It's terrible. I think my eyes are going. The fundamental change will still occur with the change of the mind in the thinker. I struggle with it, so I think that's a good one for me.
Mm.
That and I overthink way too damn much, so I might benefit a lot from this one.
Melissa,
Good.
do you have one that you've chosen for yourself?
No.
Okay, no worries. Just want to
Something
honor
jumped
you.
out at her, but she couldn't find it, so we'll have her on track for
Okay.
next week.
You can always borrow
Thanks for
one.
reading
someone
today,
else has it. Yeah.
Carly?
Actually, a thing Jane said, life is forgiving.
Beautiful. I think I'm just going to keep mine clear and I build on last week's just to improve on my listening. Be present and listen.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. We're finished dead on time today.
For us.
Despair.
What? That never happens.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank
So
you,
good to see
everyone.
you all.
Nice to see you too.
Yes, wonderful. I now have dreams of Nanup and Denmark, so thank you.
Denmark is stunningly beautiful. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. So I feel like I want to come down and build a yurt on your acre of land. I want to know how well an American can hide in Denmark from immigration. That's what I want to know.
It will be
There you go.
done. It will be done. Let's make it happen.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be a dream.
Yeah.
I'd love
Okay,
that. Okay.
we're
Thank
living
you.
Bye,
the dream.
everybody.
We're living the dream.
And the Adelaide Hills is always here for you as well.
All right, add it to the
Wonderful.
list.
There you go.
Get out my shears for the
guys.
dag. See you later.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.